Hey everybody, Brian Bush, Top Crop Alliance. We recently had our lunch and learn meeting about the 30 days before planting here, T-minus 30. So if we're gonna stay warm and drier, what are the things we should be thinking about now in relation to early planting or even all season long management? So a couple of things, we kind of reviewed some weather data from the Band Weather Service. I fully admit, weather forecasts are a good starting point, but may not be exactly perfect. But based off of what BAM weather is telling us today, they are expecting warm and dry across March, April, and May, then warm and wet across June, July, August. So if we go with that as kind of an assumption, what does that mean we should think about here as far as managing our crop for 2024? First thing I want to go through, this is not a repeat of 2012. That's what they're saying right now. If anything, the BAM Weather Group is suggesting the analogs predict 2024 will be more like 2016, which for southern Indiana was a very high yielding corn and soybean year. So this isn't all out drought, batten down the hatches, don't spend a dime. If we're gonna have high yield potential like we saw in 2016, don't be afraid to manage this crop for maximum yield potential. Right there, maximum yield potential. So, dry and warm early. One of the things we saw last year in 2023, cover crops did not degrade. So some guys were letting cover crops get taller. The whole idea of letting it get green up, protect the soil. Well, what happened last year, because we were warm and dry, the tall cover crops didn't get the moisture they needed to break down, release. So we kind of kept the soil underneath those cooler, but wetter. It also inhibited our corn and soybeans coming up. We saw some more stunted corn and beans and tied up nitrogen. So if you have cover crops out in the field, if you believe it's gonna be warmer and wetter here, maybe think about controlling those cover crops sooner than later to keep the height down to reduce that fodder out there. They'll keep the ground wetter and also tie up nitrogen in season. When should you plant? Assuming we have an average moisture March with warmer temperatures, means we could have some nice conditions in early April. Important point, look at this chart here. The blue dots are corn planting outcomes. The orange dots are soybeans. Can you go out and plant the last week of March, first week of April, plant your corn? Yes, you can. But you run the risk of having cool, wet, less ideal conditions after you plant, which can limit our yield potential. Soybeans, we see a big increase, a big boost to soybean yields if we plant early. But early planting, I'm perfectly fine with mid-April, even through the first part of May, can still be quote unquote early soybeans. What we want to avoid is soybeans planted middle May and later. For corn, we've seen corn just about any time you want to plant be fine, high yielding. It's almost better for the corn to focus on the weather conditions after you plant. Are we on a warming trend? Nice weather coming in. It's probably more important than the calendar date you plant your corn. So for high yielding crops, certainly don't mud things in, but a nice window, an ideal window, would kind of be mid-April to early May for both your corn and your soybeans. If we go out and plant early, seed treatments. When you think about soybeans, the top 4 yield robbing conditions for soybeans are all diseases that we control with seed treatments. Be it soybean cyst nematodes. Ilevo seed treatment does a phenomenal job of controlling our soybean cyst nematodes, in addition to natural resistance in the plants. Seedling diseases, sudden death, phytophthora. Each one of those is controlled. It's a decision we should make at planting. It's treating that seed before it goes in the ground. So, not saying that we have to use seed treatments, but if we're expecting high yielding crops, high yielding conditions throughout the 2024 growing season, and early planting, the risk we have of getting cool, wet, just even saturated for short periods of time The seed treatments can make a massive difference in our outcomes, our final yields, having a healthy, vigorous growing crop versus letting it compromise or starting to lose stand. So seed treatments in 2024, I think are an important thing to consider, like they are every year, honestly, in our part of the world. Specifically, a new one we kind of talked about at the meeting is Lumiderm. This Lumiderm, it's an insecticide, but Corteva data shows about a 1 to 3 bushel increase. What I see from us, right versus left, you can see a visible difference in the vigor, the health, more full stands from this Lumiderm seed treatment. So in this case, it was a matter of going from about 65, 70,000 plants on the left to 110 to 120,000 on the right, just because of this one seed treatment difference. So if you're gonna go out and plant early, Lumiderm can be a great way to get a little more of a growth promoter boost, get those plants up and out of the ground quicker. Next thing, so let's say that if the BAM weather group is correct, and our growing season is going to be warm and wet, above average rainfall, as you see right here. What's that mean? Well, that typically means we're gonna have more disease potential. This chart does a great job of kind of looking at the past 10 years of weather data, the red dots being high temperatures, blue dots low temperatures. The two diseases we often find when we are warm and wet, that's our grainfill period, be right here. GLS, gray leaf spot, very common warm and wet. Also, southern rust. Of those two, gray leaf spot is every year we find it. Southern rust, we can track its progression out of Mexico back to the Midwest. So I'll keep an eye on that and I'll let you know if we're finding anything. The two diseases we may not need to worry about as much, and I say may, those would be northern corn leaf blight and tar spot. I know we're all worried to death about tar spot because it's in every publication you read. Every website talks about tar spot. Tar spot prefers a little bit cooler temperatures. Last year for us, we really didn't see tar spot until early October. Well, if we're gonna have an earlier planting window, warm and dry, March, April, May, warm and wet, June, July, August, we might have our crop mature or maturing before a tar spot outbreak could come in here. So, going through all that, that's kind of the big points I want to take away from our meeting here. Now, that being said, we have to start with a plan. This is my assumption on what 2024 is going to be like. If you've got other ideas on what the weather patterns could be or what your plans are, let's talk about that. Because you have to take some assumptions here. If you're assuming something different there, then your yield limiting factors might be different. But from my experience, seed treatments, getting us off to a good early start, managing diseases is also critical to us maintaining high yield potential year round. And right, wrong, indifferent, if this is going to be like a 2016 type year, we saw phenomenal yields in 2016. So I don't want to throw in the towel just yet, give up all hope, because I think we still have great yield potential and lower crop prices. One of the best ways we can overcome that, more bushels. So hope that helps. Hope you can come to our next meeting we're going to have. Excited for everybody that can be here this time, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.